looking at this one, we can see we have a couple of dimensions that we're going to have to do a little adding on first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the 106 plus the radius of 25, and that's going to give me the entire length of this back line. Looking at the vertical side of this, you can see that it is 32, and we can assume, since it goes underneath the arc, that the height of this is 32. So once we're going to create this L shape, it's going to be the first thing that I will create in Inventor. Okay, so remember we're using Inventor, so we're going to start a new project or a new part. And you should get your template to open up. So if you've done a metric part before, you can just make sure that you select metric. And I'm going to use the standard millimeter IPT. Double click it, or you can single click it and select the create button on the bottom of the icon. Okay, so after a short while, you should get Inventor to open up. And the first thing we're going to do is create a 2D sketch. So I'll select the top icon here. The next plane that I'm going to put this on is going to be the front plane. So I can select this XY plane, and AutoCAD should rotate around and you can see the word front. One of the good things about this program is it just allows you to go ahead and free sketch. So I know I need to create an L shape. Click your starting point and wait till you get the little icon there that's telling you that it's horizontal. Do a left click, come down. Once again, you can see the perpendicular icon. And I'm just going to follow this around until I create an L shape. Now when you get to this back part, touch your end point and kind of track off of it. And once you come up and get the perpendicular icon, do a left click and then click the green dot back to where it begins. What I like to do is typically start off putting the longest dimension that I know. So I'll go to the dimension icon and I'm going to select this line and I'll come and place it. Remember that we had to add that up. And this is going to be our 106 plus 25, and that should give you 131. If you didn't know that that equaled that, you can also type in the expression 106 plus 25. And once I select enter, you will see that Inventor will add that up for us. Let's go back to the dimension and let's dimension this line. And from my analysis, we see that that line was 32. The other two dimensions that I need is going to be 20. And then this one is the exact same size as this, so I can either do another dimension of 20, or I can use a constraint called equal. So I'll select this line and then select this line, and you can see that both of those are equal, and you get the equal icon. Now Inventor says that I need two more dimensions, and those two dimensions are, where is it relative to our center point? So what I'm going to do is that I'll put a dimension from this point to our center point, and I'll place here. Now we know that our overall length is 151, so I'll type in 151 divided by 2. And that's just going to ensure that my object is centered. One other way you can do that, if you want it to automatically update for you, and I'll delete this dimension, you can add a dimension and it's going to give you an error message, but it's just going to let you know that it is a reference dimension, and that's what you're going to see here. You can accept that dimension, and once I dimension from this endpoint to that center, and I click and place it, now I can use this as a reference. So select your reference dimension and divide it by 2. So if any of these numbers ever change, it would automatically keep this in the center for you. So I'll also add another reference dimension on this line. It should give you the same error message. Accept it. And then add one more dimension from this top line to the center. Place it. Select your 52 dimension and divide it by 2. So now you have this part all nice and centered for you. Finish sketch. And zoom out a little bit. Next, we're going to determine how wide it is. Okay, so there should be two ways of calculating how wide this is. The first way is if you add up the 38 that's going across here and the 38 that's going across here, you'll be left with 76. If you want to also look at the back half, you have a radius dimension of 25. So I have a radius of 25 on this side and a radius of 25 on this side, which equals 50. If I add the 26 to it that's located here, that overall length is 76 as well. And one last option you do have the radius here at the bottom of 14, and you have two of them, so that is 28. And if you add it to the 48, that should also give you 76. So you have three different ways of how you can calculate how wide this shape is. So here back in Inventor, I'll extrude, and it should automatically pick our shape for us. The profile is selected and the sketch is selected. I'll make this one symmetric. Then I'll change this number to 76. Select OK. Let's go ahead and put the rectangle that's located here in the front. So I want you to select that face, and the last icon is to create sketch. Next thing I need to do is create a rectangle. One great thing about having this in the center is that this center point is right in the center of this face. So I should be able to use a 2-point center rectangle. Select your center and then come up and place it along the edge of your top portion. Dimension it. So from this line to this line, that dimension is 20. You can look at the bottom right and you can see that your sketch is fully constrained. What I like to do as a good practice is I'll usually escape out and make sure I'm out at every command. Select the yellow line at the top, and then I'll usually make it construction. Let's finish sketch. Go back to extrude. And the distance that we want to go is going to be 6. Okay. So one of the things I need to do now is create a plane on top of here so I can put the top section on it. And I need to rotate that plane up 45 degrees. And here you have many different ways that you can create a plane. The top one is kind of a catch-all, so it has most of them in it. I'll just use the plane option. I'll select this edge, and I'll select the face. You can see from here that it is rotated 90 degrees. If you select the arrow, so I'm left clicking and holding it, and as I rotate this, that plane should be rotating up. And here it's telling me that this is a negative 35 plane. I'll make it a negative 45 and hit enter. Next I want to do is I want to create a sketch on this plane. So select one of the edges of your plane, and then choose the create sketch icon. Let's go ahead and draw a line, and I'm going to create this shape located here, and I'll draw it up here first and then I'll place it later. Once again, make sure that you're getting those constraints. So I'm getting horizontal, verticals, and perpendiculars locked on. I'll make sure that these two lines stay equal to each other by applying an equal constraint to them. Next thing I can do is I can determine how wide this is. And the width is given to us by this R22. So remember that the radius going across this is 22. The entire length would be 44. So let's go ahead and put a dimension. This bottom line at a distance of 44. The height of it is 30. Now we can create a tangent arc that goes across and connect our two lines. So I'll choose arc. Let's use the 3-point arc. So I'll select that endpoint, then I'll select this endpoint, and when I come up just high enough, you're going to see two tangent constraints show up, or you can type in 22. When you get the tangent constraints appear, do a left click, and then you can escape. So now I want to make sure that this edge is on top of this edge. I'll use the collinear constraint, select that line and this line, and now they're collinear. One other thing I want to do is make sure that I get these two horizontal with each other. Remember that our center point is right in the middle, and that's another super benefit of doing that. And now I have to determine which one is it, vertical or horizontal. Let's take a look at the vertical option first. I'll select the center, and next I'll select the center point of my arc. And you should see them both move in line. You should also see that you get a dotted preview line that's showing you that it is vertical. Escape. And once again, what I like to do is I'll select this edge that is highlighted yellow, and then I'll put it on the construction layer. Let's finish sketch. Now I want to extrude this shape and make it come down to this shape. So I'll choose extrude. I have my profile, and then I have the sketch plane that it's on. And now I need to determine and tell it which way to go. But instead of doing it the other way, I'm going to tell it to go to next. So once you select the to next icon, you can see that it will automatically cut off right at the other plane of my previous shape that I created. This is joining it together. Go ahead and select OK. Now that we created with this plane, we don't need to see it anymore. So I'll highlight it by left clicking on it, and then do a right click and change the visibility to off. Let's go ahead and work on this slot that we have in the back. So I'll highlight this face, do a left click on it, and then choose Create Sketch. Now that I'm in the Sketch command, underneath the rectangle, select the drop down, and we're going to choose Slot Center to Center. I'll locate the first center of my slot here, and make sure that you're getting the horizontal or vertical, in this case, icon. Do a left click here, and then size your slot. Let's go ahead and put some dimensions on it. So choose Dimension, select that line in the middle, place it, and that distance is 26. Next, I'll go ahead and dimension the radius. And this one has a radius of 12. Okay, so now we need the center of this slot to be in line with the center of this one. I would choose the horizontal constraint. I'll select this center point and this center point. The reason I chose the horizontal constraint is look at the words top. So one of the next things that I'm going to do is I'm going to determine how far this is away from the edge. Remember that the radius that's on here is at a radius of 25, and these two are concentric to each other. So that lets me know that the dimension from this slot line and this edge should be 25. Make sure you hit Escape. I'm going to select that edge that is now highlighted and put it on the construction layer and finish sketch. Extrude. Your shape should go up a height of 6. Select OK. Let's go ahead and create our cutout way that's through the top of that slot. So go ahead and select your slot just on the top face of it and choose Create Sketch. Next thing I want to do is I want to bring in the geometry of this shape that I used beforehand. So I'll choose Project Geometry, and I'll select that face of this one and then hit Escape. You can see that you got the two center dots that are located on it. Okay, so now I want to put my slot on here, and I'm going to use these same two center points that I had on my previous slot. But before I do that, I'm just going to make sure that this outside is set to a construction. So make sure you don't have any command, or you're not in any command. Put a window around it by left clicking at a point above it, and then I'll left click over here, or I'll let go of the left click button at a location here. Move it to construction. I'll choose the same slot center to center. I'll select this center point, going to this center point, and now as it's giving me the preview above it, how wide is this? If you look back at the drawing, it'll tell you that that distance is 12. Let's finish sketch. Extrude. Now this time I want to cut through everything, so I want to get rid of this distance, but I'm going to simply select this Through All option, and then I'm going to flip it going through it. So I told it to go through all, and I gave it the direction, and you can see that it is now red. And I'm also in a cut mode. Go ahead and select OK. Let's go ahead and do some fillets. So I'll choose fillet. The first one that I'm going to look at is going to be a radius of 25. I'll select this corner. Then I'm going to rotate around by selecting that icon there and select here. Select the Click to Add option, 14. Then I'll select this edge. I'm going to rotate it around and select this edge. The last one that I need, so I'll select Click to Add and make it 6. It's going to be this edge that's located along the bottom. Select OK, and you should have all of your fillets done. Let's go ahead and locate some holes on the fronts of these. What I like to do is, if there are multiple holes and they are the same size, I'll usually create a sketch and let Inventor select both of those and make them both together. So let's go ahead and select this face. Choose Create Sketch. Project Geometry, and what I'm going to do is just select this arc and this arc. Highlight it by doing a simple left click and hold above it, and come down underneath somewhere along this location and let go of the left click button. Move it to the construction. Now select point. Select this end point and that center point, Finish sketch. Now let's use the Hold command. And once you select the Hold command, you can see that Inventor picks up both of those circles. And now we need to change the dimensions of it. You can see that it tells me the size of those holes, and I want those to be 12. Select OK. For my hole that's running through this one, I'll do that one a little bit differently. So let's create the hole. I want you to select this face. And now you can see that your hole is kind of floating in a position wherever you select it. And if you come near the edge of this, you'll get a concentric icon. Left click on that edge, and now your circle should fall to the center. Go ahead and change the dimension of it, which is 22. And we don't want this hole to go all the way through it, so I'll select the distance option and tell it that I want it to go a distance of 32. Go ahead and select OK. And now your hole should be created. So if you just kind of go around and look through this shape, you should see that it was actually kind of fun and enjoyable to create. So thank you for watching.